All right. Yeah, I'll just wait for people to just join in.
Okay.
If anyone from the Crackable team is watching, can you just type in on the chat window and let me know that we can get started? Can everyone hear us? Hello. Yeah, I think people are still joining in.
Okay.
I can see YouTube 3 right now. So we are trying this new thing called Riverside. Uh,
Okay.
so
So it
let's
it has it syncs with Zoom, YouTube,
YouTube.
everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So we are not doing it on Zoom. This is on a tool called Riverside.
Understood. So it syncs with YouTube directly, and you can have the
Yeah,
portal here.
yeah, yeah. Cool. So I guess I'll get started. Hi, everyone. Very good evening. I'm excited to do this session for you guys today. My focus is completely to look at what it takes to apply from now to round one and round two. I've done this session many times at different stages every year, but I realize when we come to June, the vibe is different. The the pressure in terms of, because deadlines are already out. In fact, today my team just looked at 21 schools, the deadlines are out, which means now we really have to roll up our sleeves and get started. And the idea of having this session at this point in time is to make sure that everyone who's planning uh, to apply this year has a very clear idea on what is required to do. At the same time, there is no confusion on what is required. There is no it's not that you are unaware of something at a point where it's really important for you to focus on it, right? So that's pretty much what I want to focus on as part of this process, as part of this session today. Hi, I'm Shrikala. Let me just introduce myself. I'm one of the co-founders of Crackverbal. I'm also the chief mentor here. I have worked with hundreds of students every year, working who are applying to top global programs for MBA and masters every year. With me, I have Amog. Hi, Amog. Amog has worked with us. More importantly, Amog has been in a similar shoes last year, same time. So I think he understands exactly what everybody is going through, more from a pain point or a panic or an anxiety perspective, whether it is GMAT or whether it is essays or whether it is getting the recommendations or whether it is even managing a full-time job along with this whole process, right? So I thought it was wise to get Amog on this call. More importantly, Amog is also has an admit to Michigan Ross this year. And I mean, I would like to get him to talk more about what has been his journey while we go through this entire process. So welcome, Amog. You want to quickly introduce yourself and just tell everyone so that we have a context to what we are going to talk about.
Yeah, so my name is Amok, everyone, and as ma'am mentioned, I'll be joining Michigan Ross this fall. Before my MBA, I was engaged in the Department of Audit and Assurance in EY. I'm an ACCA by profession, so my job was to audit financial statements and give opinion. So it was a very hectic job. So I kind of understand the entire pressure of managing a full-time job and actually going through the process of this MBA programs. So hopefully I can give in my tips that will help you out.
Right, perfect. Thank you so much, Amog. So cool. So let's get started. We are at June right now. We have some key deadlines that are there. One at round one, which is sometime in August, September, depending on which school you're applying. And then we have round two, which will be in December, January timeframe. So with these deadlines in mind, I want to start talking about what we need to focus on in this whole process. Now, before I get started, for all of you, if you could just type on the YouTube chat and let me know what stage of GMAT preparation you are, whether you're a beginner, uh, press beginner, if you are right beginner, if you are at the, if you've already taken your GMAT, say taken, if you've just you're almost going to take the test, just say almost going to take the test. So if you could just type on the YouTube chat, that will help us get an idea on what is the audience that we are looking at. Cool. So with that, let me get started. I think I'm seeing some messages on the YouTube. I'm just waiting for people to type in. Please type in of where what stage of preparation you are. Right. All right, so let's get started with this. Let me just start with the first aspect, which is the GMAT part, which is a very important part of your entire process. One thing that I want all of you to focus on is, and this has to happen this week, whether you've taken the GMAT or whether you've not, whatever stage you are in terms of your GMAT preparation, just make sure these are some things that you are focusing on this week itself, which is one, make a very comprehensive application component list. This is something that we do as part of the application process for every student, where we have a checklist kind of a thing to make sure we have everything that is added. So first is make sure that whether you're taking your GMAT or GRE, have a list of things that you need to actually focus on in the next couple of months. Very important for you to plan. And for people who are taking the test in a month, Ujjwal, Vaibhav, Kamesh, whoever's planning to take the test within a month, please make sure that you plan your test date. If you're taken your test date, plan your, plan the date that you're looking at taking the test. So that is one thing. And make sure that and other than that, also plan whether you want to do it in round one or round two. So if you're looking at round one, it becomes very important for you to plan your test date accordingly. When you take your GMAT, you have an option to send your scores to 5 schools. So you should have a fair idea of what are the kind of geography or the region that you're looking at applying. That one goes for free. So when you submit your application, one of the key things is the GMAT score has to reach them when you submit your application, right? So that becomes a very important thing. With that, I want to ask Amok, one thing, especially on the GMAT journey part, and I think this will be interesting for people who are watching us. Amok, GMAT is, always a bottleneck kind of a thing for a lot of people, right? Where people feel that when they start, it's a lot of enthusiasm, and then slowly life comes in the way, work comes in the way, so many things happen. You had a very specific journey more from a GMAT perspective, and I think it is important that you tell your perspective of, because I'm sure everybody has this phase at some point in time when they are planning for the GMAT. So tell me about your GMAT journey from, I think, 2024 to 2025. Tell us a little bit about it so that everybody can also get an idea of what it takes to actually crack a good score on the GMAT.
Yeah, so for everyone, I'm that kind of a student who does really well on the job. I'm not that good from an academic perspective. So, to be very honest, GMAT was something which was the biggest hurdle for me. I felt essays and everything can be sorted out. It is okay that I'll manage. I will manage the interviews as well, but GMAT was a big hurdle. So, when I applied way back for fall 2024, which is a year before, I had gone to the GMAT waiver route and that didn't work out for me. I had applied to a ton of schools and it didn't work out for me. So post that I realized GMAT is actually very important, especially considering my background. I need to have academic score as well, which helps me apart from my undergraduation CGPAs. So at that point, I felt, is it very easy to manage it on my own, considering my work life and considering the 12 hours a day that I have to put in into office? So I felt to some extent, I need to create an obligation on myself. I need to commit my time to someone else so that they can commit me to actually study GMAT, and that is where Crackable stepped in. The mentorship program really helped me every morning from 7 to 8, 1 hour, either it's data insights or verbal or quants, whatever it is, we used to pick up, we used to solve, and we used to understand where I'm going wrong in my process and what is the better way to solve a particular question using the elimination technique or anything. So that's something which actually helped me to move on from a very big fear as well, because getting into a test taking mindset is different from an essay mindset, or selecting a target school, or maybe writing a getting the recommendation done, or even interviewing. So, and it's the first and foremost step. It was the first and foremost step for me. So if we go back 1 year, this was the exact time when I had started preparing, and I had started and paused preparing as well, because I had my marriage in between. So I realized one thing, and I can just give you one experience. GMAT is something which you have to take in as a sprint. You have to have a touch every day, because if for a couple of days you missed out on your studying, you have to effectively restart on a lot of things. So that is something which I felt, because once I resumed back my studying, I took at least 5 to 6 or days to go back to the same level of thinking and the level of the approach that I used to have. And that's where I felt I could have preponed my GMAT so that I could have applied in round one. I applied in round two. So if someone is looking to apply in round one, I suggest, especially the people who have texted that they are going to give it in 1 or 2 months. Now this is the time when you just put the put the pressure on the pedal, and give at least 2 hours a day till the date of your exam.
Right, right. And Amok, one thing that always people, when do you know that you are ready to take the test? Lot of people take a lot of mock tests, and still they have this fear that it's test anxiety, and I think it's very natural, more from a test taker's perspective. And this is something year on year we have seen. Most people go through. When do you because it's a very crucial time. June is a time where you have either started preparing or you're maybe taking the test within a couple of weeks. When do you feel that, okay, now I'm ready, I should go ahead and take your test? From a test taker's perspective, what went in your head when you
So
plan to take the test?
Oh, so that's something which is really insightful. First of all, everyone who is trying to apply for MBA, they might have a list of target schools in their mind and the respective scores that particular school accepts. So definitely there's a target score as well that comes with the target school. And while you're giving a mock test, you might realize that as you give your mock test and see your results, you feel, okay, I could have done better in that particular aspect when you're retrospecting or when you're looking into the questions that you have answered. And at that point in time, what I felt personally from my point of view, that I kind of plateaued my performance, and I felt this is the best I could do. And let me just give it a shot. If in the on the best day that I have, if I can achieve the score that I really want to, then it is the perfect thing for me, and I'll take it any day. So that's when I felt that a sense of satisfaction should come during your mock test, when you realize, okay, this is good enough. I've done a lot of prep. Beyond this, it will take me another ton of effort to get to a one more score, because ultimately GMAT is one aspect of the admissions, not the entire thing. So you need to focus that as well, because time is the key resource here. So that's something which is really important, to keep your target score in check and ensure that if you feel plateaued and satisfied, then you're done with it.
Right, right. So for all of you who are, planning to take your GMAT in the next couple of weeks or days, one thing I would like you to kind of look at is focus on taking tests from the MBA.com. Take the mock test there. I'm sure if you're talking to our mentors, they would guide you on that, which is these tests are the one that actually have the best assessment of what you actually want to look at. So that will give you a very good idea on where you are, more like a thermometer, right? It'll tell you this is the stage that you are, and this is how much more you need to do going ahead, right? So that will be a very important aspect of planning to pick your test date when you're planning the whole thing. One more thing I want to talk over here, especially when I'm talking about GMAT, is remember that our job is to make sure that we submit a very strong application, which means every aspect of your profile is important along with the GMAT. So at any point, if you feel that R1 might not be possible just because you're lagging on the GMAT, uh, it's okay. We can even look at R2, but don't rush for R1 just because the deadlines are there. Yes, deadlines are important. My job over here is to give you a very honest feedback on both R1 and R2 are equally good. Amok got his admit in R2.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to give you an idea, R1 and R2 are equally good for Indian applicants. Yes, there is some aspect of scholarships and all that that might impact. However, depending on which region you are applying, whether you're looking at applying to India or US or UK or Canada or Australia or Singapore, any of the top schools in any of the regions, it will be very specific to the region and the school that you're applying that scholarships matter, right? So
Yeah.
go with your best foot forward, which will be a very important factor when you're planning your entire application process too. Next, I will talk about focusing on little bit more on making sure that when you plan your GMAT test dates, also make sure that you have kind of a backup plan just in case you want to retake the test. It is an important part because just in case something goes wrong, whether it is nerves related thing, anxiety related thing, panic related thing, or just a bad day, sometimes that also happens, right? So you might want to plan that, especially if you're really planning to apply this year. So it will be important for you to think through those aspects also. So like we talk about in MBA, right? I mean, when you actually and I'm sure a lot of you are into either middle management roles or are doing some level of project management or team management at your job also. This is risk mitigation, right? It will be important for you to think more from that perspective also. This is a huge project, a consulting project that you're doing for yourself, which also means that you have to plan out the risks around it, and that will be an important part of your entire process, right? So that's one on planning the GMAT test dates part. Next is, and I why I wanted to start with focusing on the resume and achievements part to begin with in this entire process. So I'm assuming all of you already understand that the schools, when you apply to the schools, you have round one, you have round two, you have round three, you have round four in some cases. You also have something called rolling deadlines in some cases. Round one, round two typically are the best for Indian applicants, even if you're applying in India. Round one and round two are best. If you're applying to foreign schools, which have clear dates on round one, round two, round three, round four, round one, round two again are best. Some schools have over six deadlines, and pretty much they have deadlines every month, starting September. In such cases, you can go to R3, R4 also, because they are looking at, it's called rolling deadlines. So, which means that you can apply as and when you are ready, right? And they will pick up your application and they will start evaluating on these particular deadlines, right? So, it's more like as and when you submit, they'll pick it up for evaluation. Otherwise, for schools which have very clear round one and round two, your profile, or they will start evaluating your application only after the deadline aspect of it, right? So, why I gave you this information is also because when you're planning whether you're applying for R1 and R2, there are some aspects that now I'm going to talk about, which could be an order that you would want to follow when you're doing it, right? Now, this is something that we do here at Crackable when we do admission consulting. We start with the resume to begin with. The reason why we start with the resume is the first brainstorming that you will have with your mentor, or when you want to talk about your professional journey, it will be important to first look at your resume, but not your job resume. It is a B school resume. Here, the outlook of what needs to be portrayed is very different. You still have to maybe talk about your projects and what you've done, but it has to be from an angle of your roles and responsibilities, but not tasks. It has to be something that showcases your leadership stories, it showcases your teamwork. You have very quantifiable aspects on your resume, um, or uh, if you have global experience, then what are the kind of teams that you've worked on. So there is some bit of that aspect that is very important that has to be showcased on your resume at this point, right? I remember Amok working on your resume, and we struggled to get it to that one page format.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the resume part, because there is a shift when you are, it's very difficult as an applicant for you to think that okay, now I have to look at it from a B school resume part, right? Because everybody thinks, oh, resume, how much should I put, and sometimes people put things as dated as badminton, started played badminton national level in third standard. Oh, sorry, eighth standard. Third standard is too much, but eighth standard, right? So that is too dated for someone who has 5 6 years experience. So if you have any thoughts on your challenge with the whole resume aspect of it, and what did you think when you started the process of how important the resume is, and when we actually started, when we finally submitted the application, the resume had a completely different uh, the way it looked was completely different, right? So any thoughts on that? Again, as an applicant, I think that will be an important thought you will have.
Yeah, so I remember this particular thing. I had done a lot of introspection so that I can bring out the points of what I've achieved, even if it's a very normal conversation or a collaboration I've done with a global team. I thought I should bring it out because, as you mentioned, it's really important to bring out not only leadership skills but also the sense of collaboration or cross-function leadership that you have done, because that is what the schools are looking for more than your just job resume, which includes just your roles and responsibilities. It has to be a complete story. And to be very honest, I kind of had overburdened my resume, which made it a struggle, and it was very difficult letting go a particular point. Okay, this point should not be there. This, and that's where as an applicant you struggle, because I understand everyone that you want to you if you have done it, why not show it, right? And that kind of an attitude is there in every person. So at that point, I felt okay. I have to do what is needed. What is required is a one-page resume which brings out the most critical points and also a very good point, so that all the points are very good and no point dilutes another point. So that for if you have 100 points and out of the 100 points 50 are very good, but the 50 are okayish point, they actually dilute the impact of the remaining 50 as well. So you need to have stellar points that you can put in. And the entire process of resume at least took a month and a half for us, because it was completely very I have an experience of around 7 years, so 7 years in one company, and I had worked on multiple industries. So I had a lot to put in, but then we had to obviously channelize the energy into correct points and correct stories that can lead to interview questions as well. Suppose, for example, it's not a blind interview in a particular college, so you have to think through till the end of the interview as well. Okay, if this becomes a talking point, what will be my approach to it? What will be my answer? Oh, this is a great story. I can talk about it. What I'd achieved. So you have to have that point and that mindset as well. That's the thing
Right.
which I got.
Perfect, perfect. And I agree. See, what also happens is one aspect of it is what you, in this whole process, when you are applying for an MBA program, right? Whatever you say, you should be at a point to justify it also very well. Because the moment you say that you have saved $200 million for your company by doing something, that attitude should show even in the way you speak in your interview, right? So it becomes extremely important that when you are talking about these very specific aspects on your resume, there is a consistency that we are measuring throughout every aspect of your application also. And again, not to overwhelm you guys, whoever's listening and who is going through this, uh, it's not rocket science. It is something that can be solved, but at the same time you have to understand it's important. It's not just doing like one single review and finishing it off. It requires multiple iterations to make sure that the best has come across, right? So you maybe in the initial review you look at it once, but middle when you are in middle of your preparation you look at it once, and once you want to do like a final review of it before you submit also, just to make sure everything is aligned from your resume to whatever you are submitting at the end goal, right? So it will be an important point. So one thing I want you to do in June, for all of you who are uh, in this process right now, start working on your resume, right? So if you are slightly anxious about starting with the entire process or whatever it is, at least start working on the resume part of it. Get your points in place, get your projects in place, put your lead, team, whatever team building projects you have done or any collaboration related stuff you have done, and also make a list of achievements, awards that you would want to showcase, which will really matter. Or when a B school looks at it, they'll say, hey, wow, this is a very interesting point that this person has on his resume. Understand that B schools specifically don't have too much time to spend on the resume. It's mostly 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, but it can be the first impact point. Plus, like Amog mentioned, when you have a blind interview, this might be something that goes to them, right? So that is something that's where the resumes will have a very important part to play, right? The next part that I want to talk about, and this is again very broad. If I talk to you right now, everybody will say you have to know why you want to do an MBA and why you want to do it now. And I feel for everyone who's feeling slightly overwhelmed with it, this is something that has to be thought through. It cannot come in one go. It will come only after multiple times of thinking, discussing, researching, and talking to maybe the mentors if you're working with, or reaching out to alums. There is some level of finesse that will be important to talk about here, and as and when you go higher and higher in terms of the ranking of the schools, the more and more it is important to have this clarity. And this is something that, more importantly, when you're spending so much on your MBA, this is the most important point, because I want you to be convinced. I want you to convince your parents. I want you to convince every other person who's kind of dissuading you from doing an MBA, right? So that is something that will be extremely important. So you have to be extremely convinced about this aspect. Some things that I want to leave you with when you are thinking about the YMBA aspect is: one, it should not be because I always wanted to do an MBA, my mother wanted me to do an MBA, I want to have global exposure, I want holistic business skills, I want to work with a diverse alumni. All this is generic, everybody is going to get this. But why professionally you want to do it? What are the skills that you bring to the table? What is it that you're going to leverage from now to what you're going to get into in future? Why do you feel now is the right time for you to think through this aspect? Will be a very important part of this process. And once you have this, honestly, you're sorted, right? This is the biggest and the most challenging part of your entire process. Everything else will just fall into place. But making sure that your YMBA is very clear becomes an extremely important aspect right now. More importantly now, because all of you are planning to do an MBA this year, are going to join in 2026. You will graduate in 2027 or maybe in 2028, depending on whether it's a 1 year program or a 2 year program, which means the world, businesses, everyone is going to move. I mean, with the whole AI revolution happening, that the skills that are required will be different. And your MBA in this process is going to enable you with that skill. So it will be important even more for you to have this clarity when you're applying this year, especially, right? Amog, your thoughts on it. Tell me, what was your struggle when you were planning your YMBA, and why now aspect of it?
Yeah. So I actually echo your thoughts to some extent that you need to persuade or convince someone who literally doesn't want you to do an MBA, because that's when you get that clarity also, and you feel okay. I have convinced a person who really thinks that MBA is not worth it, and that means I have some thought process, right? And to some extent, the reason I wanted to do an MBA, or the conclusion how I derived was that I wanted it to be a bridge to what specific thing I wanted to post my MBA from a professional point of view and a career projection point of view. So yeah, the thought process should be from this point of view, that what I will gain in a particular 2 years of investment or 1 year investment additional to the cash investment that everyone is going to do. That needs to come out very clearly, so that the school also knows that the person is come up with a plan. The plan is very specific. He has certain targets that the person wants to achieve. She wants to do this particular things in the school, XYZ, and that leads to the ultimate goal of a job or a pivot to a different industry. Like for me, it was from a complete financial role to a consulting role that I'm targeting post my MBA. So something of that sort, which brings out an organic thought, an organic need, an organic human emotion as well. So that's something which I felt is really important.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so this is something that I want you to. So one thing that all of you who are at this stage right now thinking whether how do I kind of plan this for myself is, start making points. Look at what do you do at work, what are your strengths, what is it that you have come to over the years, from where you are to where you are right now at different stages, more from your career perspective. What are the skills that you have gained, what is the sector expertise that you have had. You might also want to look at what is the kind of network you have developed over the years. You also want to look at what geography you want to look at, maybe what kind of specialization you want to focus on in future, and why. All these kind of things could be something, and this will require a little bit more thinking, sitting, researching, figuring those things out, so that you get a lot more clarity on what you would want to write when you're starting to writing your essays, right? So uh, that is one thing that you can do. Second thing that you can do is you can pick industry, function, geography. This is again a very important factor. Like Amog, you were very clear. You had an audit tax kind of a background working with EY. What were your goals in terms of what industry, function, geography? I know you were very specific about US. What was your thought process in terms of picking the right industry functions, and what was your pitch to the target companies you want to choose?
Yeah, so it was very clear. While I worked in the Department of Audit, I was in the sector of telecom, media, telecommunications, where I worked in a lot of different industries and logistics sector also. So effectively cover the service sector. So when I thought about a particular industry that I want to join, I just felt that from a personal point of view and a professional point of view, I wanted a sense of satisfaction of actually bringing a change or driving a particular business. So like in my story, as an auditor, I open on financial statements, I validate a particular result or a number that is coming in the financials. So it is more of a attestation and more of a post impact or a post done job. You are working on the historical numbers. I wanted to work on something which has an impact in the future. So that was the first thought process, the first organic thought process that I had as a person, as a person and as a human being. So that's my why. And now coming down to consulting, because that is actually a particular industry which will give me, or a practice area which will give me that opportunity of satisfying the profession need that I have. That's where I conclude that consulting is something which I really want to focus on. And in consulting, I intend to go to a retail segment, because what I find is as long as humans are there on this planet, there will be retail segment, and it will have a lot of complications because everyone is diverse. So entire geographies are diverse. You get a good opportunity to understand different cultures also, which is something which I really like, and different geographies, but also different economies, which will actually groom me as an all-round professional in this global atmosphere. So that's something which was the thought process. So for every key aspect, like my conclusion will be, for every key aspect of leading to the final point of what you wanted to post MBA, there has to be a why attached to it. And whenever you start answering the questions of why, you get to the result. That's what I feel.
Right, right. And one another thing that you could be a tip that you could use when you're thinking about putting down your thoughts is, uh, ask these questions. Does it make sense? Is it compelling? What is missing? What is unclear in this sentence? Am I making sense? Am I being simple? See, you also have to understand that whether you're applying to a UK based school or a US based school, you don't need to be a Shakespeare. Your language has to be simple, your language has to be clear. You don't need to use really complex words or anything of that sort. As long as you're able to communicate your story well, as long as you're able to say it with clarity and genuineness, that is what is required in this whole process, right? It should just look that okay, this looks feasible when this person is talking about it, right? So that's pretty much what you have to focus on when you're looking at your career goals too. So yes, for all those people who are thinking, when do I start this? Your goal is by end of July, this has to be clear. So if you have to keep a timeline for yourself, this should be something that you would want to focus on. Spend at least 2 to 4 weeks on this so that you have a clear vision around it. Like I said, this might require a little bit of discussion with your mentors, thinking through, talking to alumni, and obviously sitting and writing it yourself, which will be an important part of the whole process. The next aspect is, once you're very clear about what are your goals, what are your geography, what is the function, that also gives you a little bit more clarity on what could be the target schools you want to pick. So sometimes what happens is one aspect of it is okay, you want to pick a target school completely based on your GMAT score. So if the GMAT score is high, you will get extremely confident and you will say, hey, let me pick a little bit more competitive schools. And if the GMAT score is little on the average or maybe lower, you feel that, hey, you self filter yourself out and you say, no, no, mere se to nahi hoga, right? And that is typically what people go through. My suggestion to you is don't self filter yourself. That is one. Pick, I always suggest that you should apply to a few ambitious schools too, and trust me, this is something I go through every year, and I make sure that I put few ambitious options in every person's list, just because I want to make sure that there is a chance, right? Your profile might be good, everything on your profile is great, then why not? Just a GMAT score should not be the only reason of filtering yourself out. Again, possible, not possible is a different story. Yes, probability of getting an admit does increase if you have everything ticked, which is true. It's just the competition, it's just the nature of the competition you're facing, right? So many Indian applicants, everybody's applying with great scores, and the moment you're applying it more and more competitive schools, that becomes even more competitive for you, right? So that I agree, there is some level of competition over there, but my suggestion to you would be that when you pick the schools, have a good good uh, band range of schools that you're applying to. Pick a few ambitious options also, pick a few reachable safe kind of options also, so that you are kind of planning it out across the range of schools that you're looking at applying to. More importantly, once you have already planned your goals, it should also align to the industry and function you're looking at. The region should be something that can give you the right kind of network you want when you're looking at applying to those schools. And obviously, it has to align to your career goals. There should be a culture fit. That is something that you would want to look at. And some things that you can do when you're looking at picking your target schools is reaching out to student ambassadors. Nowadays there are a lot of these there are these lot of webinars and events, online virtual events that are happening from a lot of these top schools and other schools also, where they actually give you a very good insight into what the school caters to, or what they can help you with. That is a very good way to get an understanding of the kind of schools you want to apply to. Reaching out to alums from those schools can give you a very good idea. One thing I remember, for some very specific schools, I remember the alums who respond also tells a lot about the school, right? That they are very close knit, there is a very collaborative kind of a community. And also it's important what you ask them, right? You don't want to ask them things that's already there on the website. You don't want to ask them things that's already googleable or researchable, right? So you want to also go with very specific aspects of what you want to know about that school, and that becomes a very important process. So ideally, if you're looking at this research part, July August should be the timeline that you should look at when you're researching on schools. Among you had a huge list of schools. We looked at 7 to 9 schools when we are looking at applying. What was your thought process and what was going on in your head? Because I am saying, okay, pick ambitious, pick safe. That is my theory, right? And I feel that has worked for a lot of people. As an applicant who's gone through the same process last year, what was your thought process on picking the kind of schools you're applying? What was your fear? You applied with a GMAT 675 when you applied last year for the round two. What was your thought process and what was going on in your head?
Yeah, so when I got the score of GMAT 675 in Focus Edition, I felt I have a good enough score, but not good enough for the top tier, like the top three, top four. That was my thought process. But having said that, slowly, I realized that beyond the point, this is one aspect of GMAT. If someone is just filtering basis GMAT, it's something which I wouldn't advise, because GMAT is just one aspect of thing. You can bring a lot in from a personal point of view, be it a social service or your professional experience. These two are actually very important factors as well that the school takes into consideration. So even when you're researching, don't rule out any of the schools that you feel uh, they have an average GMAT score which is way above what I have, because you might find a particular person, a student ambassador, as you mentioned, ma'am, that has the same career trajectory, and connect with the person and actually understand much more and then conclude. The funny thing about research is before you started, you feel you know everything, but once you started, you realize you don't know a lot of things, and that's where it's really important that just dig deep as much as possible, connect with a lot of alumni or student ambassadors who are currently going through the MBA process, because they are the closest one who have been at in your shoes, and you might be in their shoes, so you can bond off really well. You can understand. Like in my case, I had connected with a Chinese guy who was a CPA and was looking for consulting. So I had gone to the Ross's website, understood that particular career, that particular person's career trajectory, and I felt, okay, this person is really good for me because that person has gone through the same thing and has the same end career goal as well. So I kind of got to know more about the school as well, which not only helped me in finalizing the school, but also in the essays that I'm going to write. Right. So it has a lot of benefits. Connecting with people and talking with people is really really important, more than actually seeing the website, because ultimately website is theoretical knowledge, but connecting is something which does wonders, because you have a connect post your admission also, if you're admitted, and while you're filling the form also, the school asks about different webinars that you've attended, or different events, or different people that you've connected to. That shows your interest as well to the school.
True, true. Yeah, and what I would also like you to focus on is there are some very interesting AI tools like Perplexity.ai. There is GenSpark.ai right now. If you want to research on any specific school, you can go prompt over there. You will get everything that you need to know about the school. Whether you want to know about the capstone projects that they have, whether you want to know about what are the kind of clubs that they have. There will be a lot of articles that you can find from other websites like Poets and Quants, where they have interviewed people from these schools. So you will also get to know, because there are some certain questions that you have to address, especially in the when you're talking about specific clubs and stuff like that. You want to know what's happening in those clubs, right? So those kind of information you can get through these. I mean, you can research through these AI tools also, which will not only tell you what's there on the website, but it also tell you what's there generally, available on the internet, right? So these are also great tools that you can actually look at when you're looking at applying. So yeah, so in terms of planning the kind of schools you want to look at, research is extremely important. Remember, you're going to, this is a big investment for you, time, money, everything, effort, everything, which also means that it will be very important for you to go very well researched. When you go to the school, you don't want to go to a school where you're you're not very clear, or you're not very aligned with the way the school vibe is, or what the vision is, or what they actually have to provide you more from your own goal perspective, right? So it will be an important aspect for you to research on these aspects. There is some, there are some questions on that, on which tell us which was your dream B school. Somebody is asking. Okay, so this is more from the kind of schools you're looking at. So whatever schools you're looking at, just make sure that you're well researched. You talk to people, reach out to people on LinkedIn. Look at what can you pick very specific that aligns. When you talk to them, you will get specific nuggets of information. That is what you have to tap, and that is what you have to talk about in your essays. And that will be extremely helpful when you're looking at it, right? Great. So next and the most important part is looking at your recommenders. A lot of people ask me, who should I pick? Should I pick college professors? No, only professional recommendations. Get at least two or three people ready, just as a backup plan. Have one more. Normally, you need two recommendations per school. Uh, I think ISB requires only one for Indian schools, but most schools require at least two recommendations. Why this is important? See, I understand that a lot of people tell me that recommenders don't have time to write, but they will have time to discuss at least. So spend some time talking to them, discussing with them, also picking who could be the person you want to pick. And I understand at some places it's not easy to kind of say that I want to do an MBA, right? It can impact an appraisal. It can impact what you want to go as a next step also, which I completely understand. But maybe what you could do is, um, pick the people who will not impact any of these appraisal kind of aspects, and have some individual meetings with them. Look at what you want to talk about. Typically they want to know what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your areas of improvement, why are you good for an MBA program. Those are the kind of things that they need to know, the B school needs to know from a recommender. And the recommender has to say things that you are already telling about yourself in your application too, so there has to be a sync. We cannot contradict those two things. Amog, how difficult was it for you to get recommendations? What was your process? How did you go about looking at the recommendation thing? Again, I'm sure everybody will resonate with that more from your journey, because when you were applying, there was also a lot of turmoil happening in the sector that you were working in, right? So what was your method to figuring out who could be your recommender, and how would you go about this?
So personally, I was due for a promotion when I was applying, and I felt I was in a conundrum as to how can I discuss this particular point. And when I discussed with you, I realized that I have to talk to a complete professional person, like a professional associate person in the firm. Now, since I've been in one firm, I had developed that kind of relations, and I believe everyone must have, because when you work for some time or maybe even a year in a particular company, you tend to realize people you can trust and people you can confide to, and actually have a good discussion about. One of the incentives, which is a collateral benefit of having a discussion even before selecting a recommender, is that you understand and actually know much more points about you which you might have missed out on, because a third person giving you some advice or giving you telling something about you is something which is an additional information as well to some extent. And if you see the format, in many of the schools it's very similar format which has a standard structuring of questions. So those questions can actually help you not only to identify what are your strengths but also the areas where you have to work on while you're applying. Having said that, I had gone with my direct supervisor, had been working with the person for around 6 years, and I discussed with the person that this is my idea, and I wanted to discuss whether we'll be willing to do it or not, and everything. The person was willing to, so I got lucky there. There's no doubt on that. But I had two, three backup options as well, just in case if the person is not ready or is does not have the time to do it, in just in case. So have the backups also, because one of the thing about your application is that recommendation letters are a completely external dependent factor, and if they are not done timely, then it tosses everything that is done. So it's really really important to cement that particular aspect, because that's not under your control. So that's where I had two three options, and I had two, three letters also. So I had everything with me, and then I realized which person's recommendation might be helpful for my complete story, and that's how I selected.
Right, right. So yeah, so like one important thing that Amog mentioned is this is one thing that will not be in your control, right? So make sure that you at least get this sorted early on, in advance. More importantly, I think one more thing I would like to talk about over here is um, uh, it is important that you pick the right kind of recommender. And also make sure that they have the time to actually submit it themselves. Don't submit the recommendations yourself. It can be flagged if it's the same IP, if it's coming from the same, your essays are submitted from the same IP and your recommendations also submitted from the same IP. So make sure that they do it themselves, even if they are taking help in terms of what needs to be written and stuff like that, which is perfectly fine. But they definitely need to submit it themselves. So don't do it on their behalf. This is one mistake that some people did, and then you don't have any explanation if the school asks that why is the IP the same. And it has happened to one of the student who applied. So I want to just make sure all of you are careful on that part when you're looking at engaging with your recommenders. This will be an important part, so please make sure you're reaching out to your recommenders. Try to do this mid July, end July kind of a time frame. You will be at a very good stage when you do that. So when you're planning this, just do it in this typical time frame. July and August, and when we have to start thinking of writing the essays. This whole why MBA, why now? why this particular school, this research on the schools, that all that will culminate to writing these essays, because this is where this is the most important part of your entire application. Again, here genuineness, genuine stories, impactful stories, something that really brings about your leadership skills, focuses a lot on what you actually bring to the school, aligning your essays to the schools that you're looking at applying to. All these will be very important as part of this process. Now, what happens typically in essays is, you will have essays like tell us 25 random things about yourself kind of thing, which Duke has. Two topics like tell us your strengths and weakness, and what has what has changed in you because of the strengths and weaknesses that you've had over the years in your professional experience. Two questions like tell us why you want to do an MBA and why you want to do now, which are very straightforward questions. All these questions, all different schools have different kind of questions. Some schools have 3 essays, some schools have 8 essays, some schools have 5 essays. There might be a little bit of overlap, but I want you to make sure that each school you pick, when you are looking at it, you look at it as that particular school's essay, so that your entire focus is aligning the essays to the schools that you're looking at applying to. Among you apply to a varied range of schools,
Yeah.
from Michigan Ross to almost 7 8 schools that you looked at applying. What was your thought when you were looking at essays? And there were some essays that were really really difficult also, like Ross has 3 essays which are again very difficult. NYU Stern has that change it essays, and some essays which talk about, if you have to take a colleague to one historical location, what would that be? Some European school has those kind of essays. What was your approach? How easy or difficult what is? You're a finance guy, you've never written a story in your life.
Yeah.
What was easy or difficult about this process, especially when you are writing essays, and for others also, uh, who maybe will resonate to this aspect of not really written anything ever before.
Yeah, so I had applied to a plethora of schools which had varied variety, as you mentioned, especially the NYU essay of photographs. It's something which is very creative also to some extent and very unique. So it was I find it kind of very difficult initially because I thought initially if the approach is that I finalize one essay, one particular school essay, then I can replicate that. And I thought in the end when I discussed with you guys that that doesn't work well because to be very honest, as an applicant and as a school, you need to resonate with their thoughts, their ethos, their entire thought process, and their values. So what the approach that I devised later on was kind of having a logbook maintained with all the meetings that I'm doing, all the chats that I'm doing with a particular person. And you guys have a very interesting process where there is a complete Word document of list of questions that you have to answer even before writing anything about the school. So that brings out all the reservoir of information from you on the paper because that's something which is really important. In the mind, everything is there, but it needs to be on the paper so that you can start off with things. Once you have everything from you within you on the paper, you can start mapping to whatever logbooks you have maintained for every school to understand and kind of link your thoughts, your values to the school values and bring out the result. So yeah, it has to go one by one. It obviously when I'm saying one by one, you can obviously work on multiple schools together, but then you have to be very careful about the point that the ideas have to be very unique and tailored, and you need to give enough time, enough number of hours for every applicant. So that takes a lot of effort, and I believe this calendar is perfect in that because if someone is applying for round one or round two, you need to start now. That's something that's really important.
Right, right, perfect. And again, like I said, it just needs to be simple. It need not be very complicated. It just needs to be. It needs to talk about what you are actually bringing to the table. That's pretty much what you need to focus on. So, picking authentic stories, picking genuine stories, even simple. See, what is the biggest challenge that we as Indians have, is we are not very great at saying great things about ourselves. This is one stage that you'll have to learn to do that. where you have to say great things about yourself, right? And it's not only about articulating it on writing. You have to articulate it in your head, in your mind, because what you're writing has to come out of your mouth even during your interviews. And that has to be in sync very well, right? So that transition and that transformation has to happen in you through this process, because if you are not able to articulate what you do really well right now, and you won't be able to do that in your essays, or if you have done that fantastically in your essays, and if you're not able to do that verbally, that is also a different problem. And a lot of these schools now have video essays, and you will have more of video essays. Remember that with the AI tools, everybody is writing great from an English structure perspective. Essays are going to be great, but the stories are what will be only yours. So focus on that aspect of your story, focus on that aspect of what you would want to convey to the school, and making sure that you pick the most impactful aspects when you are looking at it. So one thing that you guys can do now, for all those who are listening and who are as part of this process right now, just journal, start journaling things right now, so that by the time you are in July August timeframe, you have a repository, right? So, and for those who are working with us, who have started working early, we are already going through this process of making sure that your stories are in place. So that will be something that we will be on time when we are actually getting to the essays part of it. So that's something I want you to make sure you start working on. So yes, I say right now for it. I say start now for it specifically, if you see, because start journaling at least. That will be an important part of the whole process. uh, Reviewing these essays, either with a mentor, or even get your so one thing is, um, don't share your essays to too many people, because too many cooks will spoil the broth. That is number one. But at the same time, you might want to make sure that the essay is not very technical. Sometimes what happens is, because you are in a particular company, you are doing a particular kind of a role, the verbiage, the terms that you use are very specific to that particular company or that particular function and that particular role. That you have to understand that maybe the person who's reading is absolutely not from your background. Maybe that person is a literature guy, because MBAs have a lot of diversity. You can have somebody who's a literature guy who's reading your essays, and you are a finance person and there is a doctor who's reading your essay, or it could be anything, a marketing guy who's reading your essay. So you want to make sure that it's not very technical. At the same time, you're not using too many jargon ish stuff, and you're keeping it simple, right? So that will be one thing. So some action steps, focusing on adding school specific stuff. If you're spoken to alums, talk about what your discussion was with alums, quote them. It will be an important thing to showcase that you have, that is the kind of interest you have in that particular school. Proofreading, I don't think you'll have too many grammatical mistakes at this point. But yes, a proper flow, a proper structure, and a proper framework will be extremely important when you are going through this. Some checks that you can do: would a stranger understand your goals and your journey? Is a great check for you to have. Can anyone else have written this essay? So, change your name and put your colleague's name. Will that still hold true or not? That will be something that is a great check to see whether it's how personalized it is. And third part is this specifically fitting to the school that you're applying to? That also will be important. So you want to kind of look at it also from that perspective. um, Finally, again, looking at every aspect of your essay, uploading all your resumes, your recommenders. From the deadline perspective, before the deadline, ideally I would suggest 1 or 2 days before the deadline, get everything done and submitted. So that and there are so many other fields in your application where you will have to put in extra information about maybe awards, extracurriculars, some work experience that you've had. You might also want to add some things which focuses more on your international experience. So those kind of things you want to make sure. So those are more like operational stuff that anyway you'll have to kind of submit in your application, but your entire major chunk of your time in this entire process has to go on your essays, your recommendations, and your resume. These are the three main things that you need to completely focus on in this entire process. Among anything that you want to add, if I have missed anything which you think we you would want to kind of add to this.
Ma'am, you are the expert to be very honest. So I have just done it once. You have done it for a number of years and multiple times. So I don't think so. There's nothing to add. But I just feel one thing from an applicant perspective. Just stay calm. Just stay relaxed. It's not that difficult. A lot of people go to MBA schools, be it any school, right, or be it a target school that you have. So just and focus is something very important. Every day you need to work on a particular aspect of your application, be it the academics or be it essays or be it researching. So staying committed is really important because I guess everyone has an experience of at least 2 3 years and is working and has a life beyond this, and especially colleagues who are very much satisfied with the career that they have. So it might be distracting. It might be like there's no push the way normally is in an academic institute. So you need to stay committed, and that's something which I feel is really important.
Right, right. Pretty much that's about it. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to take questions. Please put in your chat window if you have any other questions. I will make sure that I will address the questions you have. All those people who are listening to us, uh, any questions you have, anything about the schools that you want to apply, you can just type in the chat. We would love to kind of answer that. Okay, it takes some time for the stream to show.
Okay.
All right, so I guess that's about it. If you don't have any other questions or anything that you would want to kind of talk about, that's pretty much what we had today. I took exactly 1 hour. Thank you, Amog, for being in this session with us. This was really interesting, and I'm sure that people who are listening to us would have found this useful too. Like I said, don't stress on the whole process. It's not rocket science. It just needs to be planned well. This is a very important part of your own journey. We understand that, and we are absolutely conscious about that aspect. If you're looking at help from Crackverbal, or most of you who are listening to me are Crackverbal students, please feel free to book a slot with me. I would love to talk to you and help you, at least have a 30 minutes call to give you, guide you on what is required. So please feel free to have like a 30-minute call. Reach out to my team. They will give you a Calendly link. You can block a slot and talk to us about it. And yeah, that's pretty much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Amok. As always, it's always amazing talking to you. All the best for Ross.
Yeah.
I'm as excited as you are. So all the best.
Glad to
All
join.
right, cool. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.